Dolan.
Aye.
All motions carry. Now we'll move along to consideration of other resolutions. And these will be a discussion and action session. Number 1 is 22072, Data Security Contract. Does anyone have any questions? We've spoken about this in the past. Brian Engel is here if anybody has any. Can I ask for a motion and a second to approve the contract as presented?
So moved, Mike Corman.
Second, John Eggy.
Kitty, may I have a roll call?
Stark.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye. Peggy.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye.
Motion carries. I'm sorry, we got a lot of other resolutions tonight, so it's going to go a little slower here. Number 22073, fiscal year budget adoption. This is, we just spoke about this in public hearing, and we've spoken about this, I believe, for the last 2 or 3 meetings also. Is there any questions before we move on?
I had two high-level ones. I just wanted to make sure, and it's really just getting around, this a 4.4 million operating surplus, and I just want to make sure, is this like a steady state that we should expect, or are there some one-time things going on in this year's budget that are going, like, and when I was trying to compare, like, for example, just the operational expenditures in the education fund, actual versus budget, like, only went up 1%, and it just, like, but CPI was 5, and so just, that's really the gist of the question. It's like, are we comfortable that this is, or are there some one-time things in here, or is this?
So if you remember the FY22 recap, it's more one-time happening in FY22 actual. So we were receiving a couple $1 million from what we thought we'd receive in 21. We received, I think, a large sum, which is supposedly 55% of the early sunset of the TIF.
So that was like a half year of extra bump.
A half year, or a year earlier?
A half year or a year earlier.
Yes, so I mean, you know, we went over this last month. I mean, there's a lot. Okay, the only other shift is there are statutory fund rate maximums when you do your levy. And so O&M as a place, we were able to allocate dollars from the TIF, and so that's why you see us. I'm almost anticipating what the board's going to do for FY22. It's a combination. But you see, I've got more money going into operations and maintenance because we have we're likely going to need those dollars for construction, and B, there's less of a fund rate cap in that fund. So a couple different things happening there, but that's why you're seeing ed fund, actuals in FY22 was 61.8, and it's only 60.8 in 23.
So there's some movement around.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that help, Jim?
I think so. So you think, so there's not, but the fiscal year 23 does not have, you think that's kind of like a good launching point for how we should think about things going forward? I know that things could change from there, but
yes.
There's not like any unusual.
No, the only unusual thing that you will see that's almost counterintuitive is what some of these new CPIs are going to do to that new baseline. We know 5% for 21. We anticipate another very high 22. The only thing sort of that won't seem normal is how fast that actually increases.
Okay.
But costs are higher than 5% for everybody else too, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, is there a motion and a second to approve the budget as
Scott,
presented?
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah, go ahead.
Could you just remind me when CFAC will be weighing in again and getting back to us, what the cadence looks like?
Yep, the plan is January. They would make a presentation of an updated 5-year.
Okay, thank you. That's it. And I will so move.
Okay. Is there a second?
So moved. Heggie.
Can I have a roll call, Katie?
Jack Torowitz. Aye. Stark.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye. Peggy.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have the 22074 superintendent contract. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the new 4-year contract for Superintendent Dane Deli as presented?
So moved.
Second. Dolan.
May I have a roll call, Katie?
Corman.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye. Stark.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye. Nelson.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Is that everybody?
Aye.
Peggy. Yeah.
Motion carries. Now we have 22075, approval of resolution awarding and assigning trade contracts for rebid of base bid number 2 for 2022-2023 referendum work, remodeling at multiple sites.
Thank you, and I asked Dave Torres from Nicholas to just give a brief update on the proposal for this bid, please.
Sure. Thanks, Eric. Just a reminder on kind of where we've come from in the last couple of years and where we're at now as it relates just to this bid package. So we did bid back in February all of base bids 1 through 4, which was the primaries, intermediates, ATIA, and Springman. And then we awarded back in May the packages for base bid 2, all of but the HVAC bid package, which we opted to rebid. So that was completed in August, and so that single bid package, once the bids were received, came in about $1.8 million below what was originally bid in February, so that's great news. So as it relates to all of basically phases 2 and 3, between base bid 1, 2, 3, and 4, that represents a total of about $5 million that we were able to save through various negotiation tactics as well as the rebid.
Does anyone have any questions? Did the extra time we add to the construction help also while you were doing this?
Well, we didn't,
I mean, we slowed things down a little bit.
Overall, as it relates to just what is being recommended for approval today, we did buy a little bit of time on the construction end of things, which gives contractors time to procure materials, really sets us up for just kind of being able to get ahead of the game a little bit in the summer of 2023. So in that respect, absolutely, it helps a lot to be able to get ahead of it with materials and being able to get into the buildings to survey and just be in front of any unforeseen conditions and just take advantage of the time we have.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Anybody?
Just
Yeah.
quick question on, in terms of savings, it's really savings versus what had been a pretty elevated bid level, right? It's not like savings versus an initial projection or budget.
No,
It was
this-
like we deferred, we wanted to rebid it just because we thought it was so elevated at the time.
Correct.
right? So-
Yeah, at the time, specifically with that bid package, a lot of the feedback that I was getting, during scope reviews and review of schedule of values, that was the one bid package where there was just a lot of uncertainty between the different HVAC bidders, and whenever you've got uncertainty on scope and lack of clarification, that usually drives the cost up. So this was definitely the opportunity to really clarify things, as well as make sure that everyone's bidding apples to apples, but definitely turned out favorable with a sizable savings based on what was bid in February.
Okay.
Everybody good? May I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved. Baumstark.
Seconded, Corman.
May I have a roll call, Katie?
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye. Peggy.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have 22076, salary advancement, memorandum of understanding. Are there any questions about that? No questions? May I ask for a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second, Heggie.
Can I have a roll call, Katie?
Peggy.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye. Dolan.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye.
Motion carries. We have 22077, approval of teacher remediation plan. May I have a motion and a second to approve the remediation plan for social worker Eva Guinness?
So moved, Heggie.
Second, Jack Torowitz.
May I have a roll call vote?
Peggy.
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye. Baumstark.
Aye.
Stefani. Aye. Nelson.
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
Motion carries. And we have 22078, action on the D34 employee complaint. Based on a discussion in closed session, I need a motion and a second to affirm Dr. Deli's decision on the employee complaint.
So moved, Heggie.
Seconded, Corman.
May I have a roll call, Katie?
Dolan,
Aye.
Jack Torowitz. Aye. Baumstark,
Aye.
Stefani,
Aye.
Heggie,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Corman.
Aye.
And that motion carries. That brings us to our discussion section. We have number 1, interfund transfer from working cash fund to O&M to capital projects.
Thank you. So I'm going to try and make this as simple as I possibly can. This board has issued working cash bonds in the past. Advice toward the most defensible movement of these funds is from working cash to the O&M fund, from O&M to the capital projects fund, where we expend those dollars for construction. It happens to be that the county is implementing a new software system, and the rumor is that tax bills may go out 3 to 4 months late. So in exploring all the options that we have at our disposal, if you will, the timing was right to have a working cash bond issued in July. Because what we can do, and based on the cash flow analysis, I think we need about $5 million to make that December 1st bond payment. And the property taxes won't have been, bills won't have been issued and collected and distributed by then. So the second rationale here is to move some of this working cash bond money to the bond and interest
Can you
fund.
Just don't touch.
maybe just back up a little, or?
To the bond and interest fund until Cook County is able to collect and distribute our tax funds. So those are the two main reasons why we're proposing. So the board closed on a 9.1 bond issue in July. And what we're proposing today is 4.1 million would go from working cash to O&M to capital projects. And then 5 million would go from working cash to bond and interest to make that December 1st bond payment. With no board action, the treasurer will take those bond and interest tax dollars and put them right back into working cash. And then the plan would be that we'll be before you again after tax bills have been paid out, moving that $5 million from working cash to O&M and then back to capital projects so we can continue on with our planned expenses on capital.
So we're basically loaning ourselves money until the county can give us the property taxes because they're collecting late.
That's right.
And working cash is a savings fund. That's the idea of the mechanism. So when you issue debt, once it goes into working cash, you're actually able to do what you wish for a period of time, but ultimately it does need to end up being spent on construction. That was our original promise.
But there's a process for it.
But this is a process.
Yeah.
Can you remind me in fund accounting, are there actual separate cash accounts for each fund, or is it one cash account with allocation balances for all the funds?
No, there's cash liability.
So they're like separate bank account for each fund. So you,
Keeps adequate records, right?
no, I'm just curious, like, is this an accounting thing, or is this truly like
Is it a balance sheet thing, or are they actually
You're
separate
wiring
accounts?
money between accounts based on this. It's not simply journal entries in an accounting software.
Well, no, it's not a wire because it's one account for all.
So
it
all
is
our money's
accounting.
in one account.
One bank account.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's
So
what
like,
I'm saying.
Yeah.
So
So
this
So
is
these
just-
are accounting entries.
this is
There's
just-
no cash going on. These are just,
No, right.
these are
Yeah,
just
that's right.
accounting journal entries to do some things.
Correct.
Yes, just move money from one fund to.
But it's just a spreadsheet. It's
It's
not
just a
necessarily
spreadsheet
separate
movement. It's
account.
not, that's why I was asking, are there separate bank accounts
No.
for each fund? Okay.
It's just understanding the process.
Yeah, there's one account for all 5 or 6 districts in the township.
I mean, like, what kind of cash flow strain is 4 month delay in general? Like, are we close to any issues? Like, or, like, I couldn't get a sense from like, how much is money is in a bank account right now? Like, is this?
How much money is in our bank account?
Well, that's our fund balance.
Yeah, but that's a separate account. That truly is a separate account, right? The fund balance is invested with the treasurer office
Right,
in like an investment pool.
yes.
I mean, I'm just,
For our operating expenditures,
is this a cash flow?
It's a
Are we
cash
worried
flow
about any kind of liquidity issues with a 4 month delay?
because of the delay from
Or like
Cook
how
County.
close?
No, it's
I-
per fund. You have to be able to make whatever obligations per fund, right? And there's rules between moving the money between funds. So if you're gonna be short in one essentially, we're fine in all funds except bond and interest, because you can't take money from any other fund and move it to bond and interest without having a host of other things to consider, permanent transfers, you name it. So,
And this is a reason to have a working cash fund.
yeah. I mean, you know, we do have a little over 2 million sitting in working cash. If that had been enough, we wouldn't have had to propose this, but it wasn't enough to be done.
What if it turns into 6 months? Maybe it's another way. Or what if it turns into 8 months? Like, we keep having to spend money and there's nothing coming in. I'm just like,
So we
I don't know
have-
how close we are in terms of running.
So just to throw out there, I mean, I went over this with 3 different law firms, a number of different exercises, but to answer your question that you just proposed, you could make a permanent transfer from ed to a bond and interest to keep covering payments for a long time. So I think we're fine, before we anticipate the county's gonna have to catch up with it.
And, but
So
this
we're
is an issue
precautionary
every school
based on-
district's having too.
Yeah, no, I'm just.
Right, and
And specifically in
to have
bond and
fund
interest,
balance
we
to
don't
cover
keep
ourselves.
fund balance to help bridge these types of.
Right, the fund balance
not-
could be a
not at
source
this
too.
point. But if it was like a year delay, I mean, this is why we have a fund balance, that's our insurance policy.
Maybe that's another way to ask the question. How close are we to needing to tap the fund balance to help our cash flow concern of them delaying tax bills?
It's different per fund, and so.
We have one account though. That's why I'm confused, like just one bank account, right?
Yeah, but don't think of
Can't
it like
call
that.
it
There's many rules per fund and how you can transfer the time frame.
It's a statutory thing.
Jim, is part of your question like, why are we even doing this in the first place, or?
No, I understand the account, I understand there's lots of statutory guidelines about fund accounting, so you need to do all these, I'll call them journal entries to make sure you're doing it right. This is more, I guess maybe I'm oversimplifying. I feel like we have 2 accounts. We have our fund balance, which is invested at the treasurer's department, and we have a bank account at some bank.
Yeah.
At some point, if we don't get any tax revenue, that bank account's gonna keep getting smaller because we're writing payroll checks every month.
Yeah, but
Right.
the treasurer has to follow these statutes where if you're violating the rules per fund, he can't, even though there's cash and it's all one, a bank account, he's not able to make transfers without, your approval.
That's not my, I guess
Sure,
that's
so
not.
like each,
He wants to know
there's
how-
a balance
how
in
close
all
we are.
these, like sub-accounts within this big account. And you can't switch between them. But with one of those smaller accounts, one of those draws down, are we at a point where we're going to have to go to the fund balance to replenish just that particular?
So, we have about 8 months cash on hand.
Right.
So without getting into each fund, I mean, we're fine to not get any tax money for about 8 months, right?
So maybe that's a question like.
Maybe
as
that's
long
it.
as
That was
it's
part, I
months
think that was
whether
part of what
it's-
you were asking, right?
So there's just one big
it
account.
depends on the-
There's not like separate account. I guess I thought the fund balance was like a separate, somewhat protected pool of assets that you had to go in and get if you need it at any point in time.
If you're able to, there's restrictions depending. So when you levy for transportation, okay, for the most part, that's supposed to be for transportation. There are 3-year rolling approvals the General Assembly has given so that this board could make transfers that are one-time reoccurring. There's all these different rules, but there's so many rules, it's not easy for me to just say, oh yeah, you can, depends on the fund, depends on the reason. So
How about a worst case scenario? Like Jim says, 6 months we don't get any money. What are we looking at?
6 months, we don't get any money, I mean, I have to do that.
Yeah.
analysis.
I know,
But just
I
so
mean-
you know,
I'm just
You
gonna
mean
prefer
longer than
5,
8
like-
months? If we have
Is there
8
something we
months
need to
cash
worry
on
about,
hand,
like-
then,
You don't need to worry about this at all.
Okay, that's all.
I mean, that would be like if
As long as
it's
you
a
go through
doomsday
training.
question, we would probably need a chance to sink our teeth into a doomsday.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Well, no, I'm not thinking quite something, not doomsday, never receive another dollar. That's not realistic. It's more just,
Longer than 8 months?
yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're relying on Cook County. And it's amazing that we have to rely on their infrastructure or their lack of infrastructure and make these moves. And so feels a little uncomfortable because that's not in our control. I think that's what this is coming from a little bit is, we didn't create this mess, but we
Right.
have to react to it.
Yeah.
And if the, yeah,
What if a
sorry.
bigger mess comes along,
So, just so you know, the county offered a loan program for this
Okay.
reason. It's a cost to the taxpayer, so if we don't have to go there, it wasn't gonna be our first recommendation.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's no additional cost to make this happen, but, if it you name it, I'm not gonna
Yeah.
try and anticipate what the county's gonna do, but I have a feeling that things will resolve themselves before we're in trouble 8 months from now.
Yes.
Yeah.
If not, there are still opportunities for us to take advantage. Make sure we make our bond payments and payroll.
So I'll ask maybe one more way, just the way you tell me if I'm thinking about it wrong. Like if we have 8 months of expenses in our fund balance, and if the revenues are delayed 4 months, like at a high level, I guess I'm thinking our fund balance goes down by half to fund not having any revenue for 4 months. Is that true? Like, so is our fund balance, like, if we were looking at it monthly with a dashboard, would it be flashing red right now because it's?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
actions.
But
that-
it should rebound quickly once the money, I mean, I understand
Right.
it's a short-term phenomenon. but
remember, this is action that we don't have any control over. That's all.
No, I understand.
Yeah.
but-
So he'll probably keep us up on it.
Knowing there was a loan program I didn't realize that. So like, there's ways to deal with it if it really becomes more doomsday, like we can
You have
borrow.
a lot of money sitting in your ed fund. You don't really want to do a permanent transfer and never be able to tap into those funds again, because once they're recouped.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible, and I think
This is the easiest way
for us,
and most flexible.
and most inexpensive to the taxpayer.
Yeah. Okay. Now we talked that
thank you.
into the ground.
Sorry.
That's okay. We'll probably bring it up again because I still don't know where Cook County is going to be in a few months. But let's move along to, that covered both sections of discussion, correct?
Yes, thank you.
We'll move along to audience comments. This is the second opportunity for audience comments. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. Do we have any comments tonight? Okay. I will move along to the report section. We have the number 1 FOIA report, the number 2 True North Board Meeting report, the number 3 Phase 2 and 3 Construction Change Order report, the number 4 Referendum Expense report, the number 5 Full Day Kindergarten Enrollment report, and number 6 the following meeting agenda. Everybody good with the reports? I think I did.
True North
There's a
Education
True
Co-op
North.
Data Consultant.
Number 6, yeah. I'm sorry, number 6 is a True North Educational Cooperative 804 Data Consultant Report. And I want to thank Natalie for that report that informs the board on a lot of the demographics that all of the community members that are part of True North. And you can take a look at that. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So as a part of True North's strategic planning initiative that we're undergoing right now, True North commissioned this study looking at student data from all 18 member districts. And I just thought it would be an interesting reference point for us to see where we are based and where everybody else is on certain points. So it's just an FYI. I think you'll find it interesting. It does compare us to, I hate this term, North Shore type districts versus demographically similar to us districts. So it's through that lens. You know, I think we are the furthest south and west in the co-op. We are probably more demographically related to districts a little west of us more than we are the districts in the co-op. But I just, you know, it's just to give you some information. And some of the data is about all students in all 18 districts, and some of the data is specifically about kids with IEPs and 504s and things like that. So.
And some of that data you've already seen in the presentation by Dr. Kurt Schneider that we had earlier this year. Is that correct, Natalie?
That is correct.
Thanks again. It's a good read. Any other things about the reports? Is there any other business? All right, I'm at adjournment if we're done. I'd like to ask for a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
So moved, Mike Corman.
Second, Jim Baumstark.
Can I ask for a voice vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.